Today's message can be received in one of two ways. Either the entire video, or you can see which of these resonates more, as I'll split the reading into addressing one oracle and then the other. So I will link a timestamp down below for when the second reading starts. Again, you can watch both to see what resonates, but that is the plan for today. Please keep in mind that these readings are meant to be used for confirmation. They are not meant to tell you anything new. That you would hopefully confer with your higher self, your spiritual team, and of course your intuition. These messages are general as well, so please take what resonates and leave the rest. With that being said, we can go into the messages. You can pause, meditate, see which one resonates more. Over here we have the word patience, the bobcat and blackthorn, and then here we have the dragonfly and pansy, balance. So what is the bobcat and blackthorn looking to reveal? What message do they have? We have the Ten of Cups, patience. Things may be changing for you currently in terms of your emotional capacity. There may be an expansion happening in terms of, I'm kind of seeing this image of seeing the world in a new light. Really paying attention to the world around us, the people, being more intentional about interactions, making sure those interactions align with us. Judgment. I think part of having more patience may come with discernment, a new kind of discernment, one that is actually in line with your emotions and with a sort of emotional vulnerability, giving people not more chances, right, but being open to everybody. So, for example, if you've seen a behavior and in the past have been hurt by it or shied away from it, then this would just be perhaps giving more of a fair shake to people. There could also be an element of becoming more in tune with sort of your heart or where your love comes from. And this is going to draw community towards you, more community than previously, or in a different way, in a way that perhaps is more authentic. We have the Two of Coins, and beneath that we have the Hanged Man. So perfect for patience is a message of letting go, not taking things quite so serious, or not reading into every moment when there doesn't necessarily need to be that. With the Two of Pentacles, that's a card I certainly associate with balance, especially sort of in the world exterior to us. I think there may also be some lifestyle challenges, or not challenges, changes, things that are slowly occurring. You're giving yourself space to make these changes, and for example, they may be things that you've struggled to implement in the past but have really wanted to, and now that is happening because you've given it space, or because you're giving it space because you're not trying as hard. And so paradoxically, these things are actually falling into place. I see with the Hanged Man in our Two of Pentacles, I'm seeing a kind of, almost like a new breath of air, or a new wind under your sail. The things that don't serve you, and I'm getting more in terms of sort of behaviors or way of interacting with the world. So for example, this could be in relation to food or activity or any number of things. Maybe it's the way you go about work or the way you spend your time. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough time. And I'm sensing that right now these things, you're outgrowing them, sort of outgrowing that story, outgrowing that pattern. And so these things are shifting. And it feels like a good shift. It feels like a shift that you don't even want to hurry along, that there's something almost soothing and something really nice in watching and seeing the process unfold of becoming more in alignment with yourself and with your values. We have here the Ace of Pentacles. So this is a wonderful time. And again, this relates to sort of those shifting behaviors. So things that you may want to be doing, want to be starting to do. The Ace of Pentacles very much feels like a reassessment of priorities and then actually executing on those priorities. With again, a kind of slowness, a kind of steady, slow and steady wins the race mentality, but that those are coming to fruition finally in a way that they may have previously felt inaccessible. I feel that this may also be a good time if there are things that require multiple steps or multiple skills, to pick whichever one feels most exciting and to just begin working from there, working on that with the Ace of Pentacles. This may also signal a kind of shift if people are reading this in terms of work, that there will be a shift in your role perhaps, or you may be having to learn a new skill set, and that's the kind of change and patience that is being called attention to. I think for some people also in terms of work, are relearning or reestablishing a kind of relationship to that, one where there's more of that balance and separation between home and your obligations, or your rest. Again, maybe this is a re-evaluation of rest entirely. In the Judgment card, I do see this, though, as a long time coming, which is quite exciting. And again, I think there might be some emotions surrounding how easy these changes are actually occurring, especially in this sort of energy of letting go, letting things fall into place. There might be some emotions that are maybe a little bit heavier because shows why wasn't it this easy in the past. But with the Eight of Pentacles coming up, it just shows and emphasizes this sort of, that you've been preparing for this for a long time, and that those failures are not in vain. In fact, they are all contributing factors to you succeeding now. With the Eight of Pentacles, there are things perhaps that you've set into motion or you have prepared, and you were maybe not even entirely conscious that these things were setting you up for success. So for example, I'll give an example from my life, but one of the things that really helped me to do more and to be motivated to do more was learning to cook for myself, because I was keeping this promise essentially to myself to make something for myself every day. And through that, naturally, over time, I started to want to make more for myself. And so I didn't, and you don't even, many people don't realize when they set something like that into motion, because it reverberates throughout every aspect of our life usually. And that's a similar thing of what's occurring here. These natural shifts, these slight adjustments that are happening slowly, but you're seeing those effects everywhere. And it's really beautiful. So I think that's the reading for this group, or for the first part of this reading. Thank you so much for sticking around. For those who are staying further, we will get into the second part. Which is the Dragonfly and Pansy. Balance. We have the Knight of Wands. We have the Five of Cups. So in a similar vein as the first part, where rushing right now, expending a lot of energy, may be counterintuitive, and it may be counterproductive, and there may be a sense of trying to reclaim something, or feeling like something is missing. Perhaps there's even an aspect of working so hard to get away from something, or to not look at something, especially emotional. If there's an emotional, and I'm hearing the word numbness, if there's a numbness we're trying to avoid, and that, could be an emotion that's been hidden or ignored for so long that we've forgotten what it feels like. But it could also be a kind of ignoring the things that are inspiring to us, or the things that we actually want to be doing, but feel perhaps because of our circumstances we can't do those things, and so we're sort of trapped in that feeling of sort of a limbo state. I have the Six of Wands, or the Six of Swords. It's funny that the Six of Wands wanted to come to mind, but we do have the Six of Swords, and I'm going to pull one more. The Seven of Cups. So I am getting a sense of sort of recalibration, sort of re-looking at where is my energy outpouring to, and where can I prioritize, really. my priorities are the best thing for me, or if I'm perhaps doing it for other people. And I'm almost getting a sense of part of you wants to give up, but maybe you've been trained or conditioned to not do that, to not back down, to not slow down, that you see things through to the end. And not that you have to give up entirely, but there is this sort of, it's okay to walk away right now, or it's okay to fight another day. We have the Queen of Wands. And I'm reading this as a sort of outcome that maybe from this energy of continuing to go, by stepping back or by looking at the things that we are trying to get away from, the things that we're trying to overcome simply by working hard or stretching ourselves too thin. If we look at that, if we acknowledge it, and if we work on it, then we see a kind of transformation from the Knight to the Queen. That's a really wonderful transformation, and it's nice to hear that it doesn't come from working harder or pushing more, that it comes from a kind of release, which we did see in the first group. That was a big theme. Here I think it's not as I guess the word I want to use, it doesn't have as much gravity, right? In the other group, it was a sort of complete release, or really focusing on that release part, and here I'm seeing it as just a sort of some adjustments here, some letting go there, the sort of prioritization. And narrowing that focus. Again, that's sort of how we get to balance, of course. Nature might be very helpful in this process for some people. We have the Emperor card, which is very interesting because that's another sort of energy of doing and sort of using one's will to bring things into fruition. And so that I think I'm reading this as a firm affirmation of the ability to execute on things, right? You know you can get the job done. But this might be asking, and again, to sort of look at how that process is occurring in your life. For example, how much does it cost you? How much energy does it cost? Or how much time, or how does it affect your relationships? Because what we want is for you to feel like you are the one determining and deciding when and where these things happen, not that you feel at the whim of your responsibilities and obligations, that you feel some level of control and comfortability because you know you're on top of things, and also that you're well prepared for things. And that's sort of what I'm sensing from this Emperor energy. The last thing I think we'll say, and I'll go back to looking at our Five of Cups, because that's really the energy of sort of, if you're mourning something, if something needs you to look at it a little closer. there's also this, right? You're choosing some things over another, but you're really desiring either that other thing or to have the full spectrum of those things. A little vague, but of course this is a general reading. And so I think that with the Emperor in relation to that Five of Cups, I think perhaps the healing or those kinds of explorations of emotions can sometimes feel like those emotions run the process, right? They dictate how long, how intense, all of these things. And at some level, I think there's a truth to that. But I think also you, of course, can set the terms for when and how you engage with those emotions. And you also, more importantly, determine how you ultimately see those feelings, right? And I think the Emperor is here to remind us that we don't necessarily need these things, these heavy emotions, or these sort of, oh, this is one of my motivations, and it's not coming from a good place. To that then signal something greater and more telling about ourselves. Sometimes we can look at those things and just see them in isolation and see them as emotions we can let go of, and it doesn't need to further affect us or anything else in our lives. So I think this is just reminding us of that ability. And I think that was the final message that wanted to come through, and I do think it was quite an important one. So hopefully, I do hope that was helpful, and that feels in some way confirmation. So thank you so much for tuning in. I think that's the end of that reading, and have an amazing day.